4 more matches that follow afterwards. So without further ado, here we are. And right away, Viper's in the spot he doesn't want to be without the coin and Rogue.
Yes, both. I mean, I think it's much more concrete in the Mage. You always want the coin. If you're on the coin, you're very happy because you get that giant down earlier. With Rogue, I agree you usually want it, but I think you can adapt your game plan a little bit more easily without the coin on Rogue.
So talking about that game plan, what are you looking at here for Viper? What's like the major go-to package that you really want to have in this matchup?
Well, like I was saying, for the Rogue, against the Mage, you've got to be careful about going too wide on board because they have Rabble Bouncers and Sea Giants in their deck, in which case Lackey becomes slightly less powerful than it is in some of the other matchups, or Lackey's and the Evil Miscreant than, say, in the Mirror. So I think of a lot of the time, what you want to do is you want to find answers to their Giants in the form of Walk the Plank, which we've got there beautifully. And then you also just want to be getting rolling with the damage, getting the Waggle Pick to face, all those free Dread Corsairs down as well. There's very little counterplay that the Mage can find unless they hit that Harrison Jones.
Well, I'm looking at this hand from Thijs with the Arcane Intellect with the double Mountain Giant in it. You said coin, Mountain Giant. That's really the thing you want. Is the second Mountain Giant something that you want in this matchup?
Oh, it's fine, especially when your opponent's teched in a Walk the Plank. If they find an answer to that first one, it really helps to be able to get down that second one. But the reason that you want Mountain Giant above all else in this deck, especially when you're on the coin, is the Conjurer's Calling. If you can get Mountain Giant with the Conjurer's Calling, the only 2 minions in Hearthstone at the moment that cost 12 mana are Mountain Giant and the
Grave Horror.
The Grave Horror as well from Priest, a 7/8 with Taunt, which really helps against the aggressive strategies from Rogue.
Well, not an aggressive opener here from Viper, though. I'm looking at Raiding Party, I'm looking at Myra's Unstable Element. You know, I feel like when you have Raiding Party, the Myra's Unstable Element eventually becomes better, but I feel like with the lack of aggression that Viper has early here, this could be a bit of a struggle to actually find time to do this.
I agree. It's obviously not the dream, but I think the other half of his hand, which isn't the card draw stuff, helps him get to the point where he will be able to use those efficient card draw cards. Like Walk the Plank just gets him a little bit more time. He's not going to be blown out by an early Mountain Giant from Thijs, so he should be able to find the time to get those raiding parties down.
So I guess kind of what you're alluding to here is this isn't like the classical type of Miracle Rogue where when you have to use your Eviscerates and you have to, you know, use Deadly Poisons to clear off board, you're not missing the damage afterwards. You have enough gas in the tank still.
Absolutely. I mean, essentially, Tempo Rogue is a burn deck at the moment. You're just trying to launch a whole lot of damage at the face of your opponent and finish them off with Leroy, Shadow Step, Waggle Pick, bouncing back the Leroy as well. All that goodness. But to be able to get there, you've got to get in a little bit of damage at the start.
So uses a Raiding Party here for Viper. I imagine the idea was to search for a South Sea deckhand to try to activate the Miscreant at that point. So foregoing the combo on that, you know, you don't grab a Waggle Pick from it, but the idea is that he really needs to activate Miscreant.
Yeah, or rather just that he needs to do something. And obviously, if he'd got himself a deckhand off of this raiding party, he could have then gone deckhand Miscreant on the following turn, which had to be part of his thought process. But with the double Dread Corsair, he can't even fit in anything in addition to whatever else he wants to spend his mana on this turn, which looks like it will probably end up being a Walk the Plank.
It'd be tough for me to imagine it's not Walk the Plank here. If you put in a card that says, kill an undamaged minion, and then the undamaged minion your opponent plays is an 8/8, that seems pretty straightforward to me. However,
pretty good.
You know, that's really part of the expertise of playing decks like this, though, is when to deviate from those situations. I don't think this is one of those situations where you're deviating, but the idea that that exists is something you need to keep in mind when you're piloting decks like this.
And I have to say, I know this might sound absurd. If Thijs didn't have the second Mountain Giant in hand, do you think he ever would have gone Coin Ping on his initial Giant to play around the Walk the Plank so that it's damaged?
Well, that is an interesting thought. I mean, we've seen Thijs ping his own stuff before.
That's true. He is very famous for that. But I guess when he got a hand that is just this absolutely juicy, you don't need to be messing around with silly plays like that. You can just throw down your biggest stuff every single turn and then just rejoice at the fact that Viper really has found nothing this game.
Yeah, the lack of early aggression here now you're seeing is, you know, massively a detriment to Viper at this point. It wasn't because he couldn't work on life total. It's because he doesn't have anything on board to fight. You know, if you had stuff in play right now, a backstab and a pair of Eviscerates, probably enough to clear out this board and start to strand Thijs again with these Conjurer's Callings that he's picked up. But here, I feel like Viper's just fallen behind, and he's going to need something crazy to happen if he's going to win.
And Spirit of the Shark is able to work those miracles
Yeah, you
But-
know they have the Conjuring, though. That's the
Yeah,
thing. Like,
you know they have one, and they might even have another one as well, which we can see Thijs does. He could just absolutely explode onto the board.
Yeah, I think this is undoubtedly a miscreant turn and search for something to hit a panic button with. So, like, thinking Discover a Spell Lackey, some of the shenanigans here.
Yeah, maybe if you can get yourself
Ooh.
Banish or another Walk the Flank, something.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to clear off one of these. So this is going to result in Thijs being able to, further duplicate the board. And with the second Conjurer's Calling, that's really the nightmare for Viper, I feel.
Yeah, I think Thijs here, given that he's in such a good spot now, we now need to start looking at how does he lose? What does he need to play around in this instance? Which, like you said, I'm sure Thijs will be of the same opinion that he needs to play around Ethereal Lackeys, some kind of nonsense off of that, which obviously comes in the form of Betrayal. Could be something that messes up his game plan.
Straight up damage. The Betrayal thing is interesting because the Sorcerer's Apprentice could it have been positioned differently here? Could be between a Mountain Giant and a Grave Harbor right now?
Had to have played it after one of the Conjurer's Callings, I think. So
if you play on the right side, I think you're right.
Yeah, nothing. It's an interesting thought, though.
Well, the first one provides nothing. The second one provides a preparation, which I don't think is enough to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, you can play the Myras if you pick Prep, but, like, yeah, that really isn't going to be getting the job done here, I don't
Prep,
think.
Eviscerate, Backstab, that's 6 plus the... Yeah, not enough.
I give up.
Yeah. Nice.